Good morning and welcome. This is the CS-Sensei Saturday morning cybersecurity mentorship webinar. We meet Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and we are open to anyone that's interested. There you go. So this morning, there's me and Chris on from the mentor team, and so far, we have Twyla and Marcus and Nerman. Welcome back, Nerman.
Thank you.
Yeah, for those of you, I don't know, Twyla, Marcus, if you remember Nerman or interacted with him before, but he was one of our early mentees, and among other things, he wanted to sort of share a little bit about how his journey has been going. So we can get started with a mentee share as quick as you like, Nerman. How are things, and have we helped you? I guess that's a big question to ask. Was this a waste of time for you, or
No, you guys helped me a lot, especially with my resume. Yeah, I as you already know, like I recently graduated in cybersecurity. It was like 4 weeks ago, and I started looking for the job. Started applying. I don't know. I sent like in 3 weeks like over 100 applications. I had yeah, but in meantime I was like adjusting my resume, and yeah, I was putting some things on my resume as you suggested, both of you. I mean, Chris and so. Yeah, I put, for example, I added those things like you said, like if you did something once, you have done it, so you can talk about that on your resume. And so I took that advice and I did, like, so for example, I put on my resume my home lab, so I explain what I'm doing in my virtual lab, and yeah, so I kind of like, I think I and once you kind of like took a look at my resume and you gave me some suggestions. So yeah, I did make some changes as you suggested, and yeah, I'm applying all the time. And I had one interview. It was a Discover for SOC analyst, entry level. Actually, it was like one interview with HR, and then I had 3 more interviews with the hiring manager and 2 team leaders. I mean, they put everything in one interview, but so yeah, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've been applying all the time, and so actually this Tuesday I have one more interview, but it looks like it's really hard, like. But yeah, you helped me a lot. I mean, I remember many things. Like, I mean, Chris once said, like, hey, don't pay attention to those, like, job description, like looking for experience 6 years plus, 3 years plus. Just apply, try. You never know. And it's true. Like, I mean, and it's also funny. Like, I see, like, for internship they're looking for experience, or like entry level they're looking for experience. To be honest, I don't even like know who writes those job descriptions. Like I saw for one job posting, they asking over 10 years experience with some software, but I know that software was developed like maybe 5 years ago, and it was really funny. But anyway, yeah, I'm applying like all the time, trying, yeah. So as I already mentioned, I had only one interview, and this Tuesday I will have one more. So yeah, but what I do, actually, I was watching a lot of those YouTube videos like to prepare for interview, and um, I found out that there are like some common questions for cybersecurity interview, like really common questions. And actually, I was asked. They asked me those questions. For example, like, so how do you stay current, like in cybersecurity news? Like, so how do you get your cybersecurity news? Like, Uh, so they also ask you about your like network. So what do you do at your network? How you protect your network? So kind of like tell us a little bit about your network. So and what I'm doing now, I mean, since I finished with school, I extended my home lab network, and I'm now trying to use some of those application softwares that those uh, companies you're using in cybersecurity, like Splunk,
Hmm.
Elasticsearch, those applications. I'm also taking some courses. I'm using now Hack the Box, taking some SOC analyst course. It's really good. Um, yeah, I set up in my lab Splunk attack range. I also started using AWS. I'm running some instances in AWS. Uh, yeah, so trying to do, those things like that now kind of required for those, for example, for SOC analysts.
Hmm.
It's really important to know to use those applications for monitoring, collecting, and analyzing data. Um, I don't know if you want me. I can tell you a little bit about Splunk attack range or something. If you have any
Well,
questions, you
well,
can ask
no.
me.
First of all, thank you for coming back and sharing with the team. I think it's extremely valuable to see those who are literally further along in the program and what they're doing and how they're doing, so that we're not talking about cybersecurity on paper. We're talking about really going out and working to get those cybersecurity jobs. So no, I greatly appreciate you sharing with the team. Um, are there any things that have been really surprising for you in this effort that you might want to share? You never thought about it until you were standing in the midst of it and said, "Oh," something like that. Knowledge that it seems like everybody's asking for, or
Yes.
skills that you did. How do I say this? You did fill the box because of CS-Sensei or those sorts of things. Anything you can
Yeah.
share about that?
Yeah. I mean, like you suggested before, like I mean, what I'm trying to do, as I said, like that's why I'm adjusting my resume all the time. So as
Hmm.
soon as I get some skills, like I do a lot of hacking using the Kali Linux, using Ubuntu, have a lot of those virtual machines. Um, and also learning PowerShell, command lines. And as soon as I kind of learn something, I go and put that on my resume.
Hmm.
Recently, I was using Snort IDS IPS, and I was running actually in my Ubuntu, attacking my Ubuntu operating system with Kali Linux tools, using Metasploit, using Nmap, scanning the network, IP addresses, and running some like SQL injections and stuff like that. And then actually I also do screen recording, so I'm keeping those files so I can show, I don't know, hiring manager or someone
Hmm.
if I need. Um, and yeah, and as soon as I kind of like do something like that, then I learn, and I'm kind of pretty sure that I can explain to someone if they ask me, hey, how do you perform SQL injection? Like, so what do you do? Like, what did you do? Like, what's the process? So as soon as I kind of figure out all of this, and I at least have done like once, I go and put on my resume, and
Uh-huh.
I found out like that most people they said like like if you don't have any experience in cybersecurity, working experience, because I don't have, I just graduated. They said like you can talk about those things what you really do in like in real life, and that's actually what they do there. Like I mean, I'm running a lot of those attacks like in a Splunk attack range, and going back to Splunk application and looking like to be honest, I'm just learning. I don't know to read all those data, but just playing around, and that's what they do there. Like I mean, like Secure Operation Center, that's what they do. Like
Mm-hmm.
so, but yeah, I can tell one thing that I'm really surprised. Like it's not really like how people they put their work experience, their education, skills, knowledge, but it looks like it's mostly on paper. It's not really like that. I'm not saying that
Mm-hmm.
people lie or something, but I mean I found out that because I have a lot of friends in this field, cybersecurity, and they even telling me some really funny things like I mean like like people don't know how to do some simple things, but they're like high position in cybersecurity. And people like Googling all the time, or you can see someone who is really specialized in AWS, but doesn't know how to move files between two servers using Linux command line. I don't know, like so, and what I'm trying to say, like um, actually that makes me kind of happy, like so because I know how much I know, like I know how much
Mm-hmm.
I learned all those years because I didn't start doing this like recently. I started doing this when I was on the second year of my college. I immediately started like building my network, securing my network. And you remember before I was talking about my firewalls, hardware and software. Um, so implementing a lot of those tools to protect my network, having a lot of devices, dividing the network, um, creating like a virtual lab. So I started that long time ago. I mean, long time. Let's say maybe 3 years ago, and now I'm doing even more. I'm learning Python. I'm doing a lot of things, and I was thinking like, I, I think just I need someone like to give me a chance, like so, because
Mm-hmm.
I think I mean, again, I'm still learning, but I think I have a lot of experience compared to some people, and I don't know. I was kind of I was able to see like people who were like in cybersecurity 7, 8, 9 years with bachelor degrees or master degrees in cybersecurity, computer science, and um, I can tell that I'm kind of like very close to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, but here's the thing. I want to mention something. One of my friend who is he's a senior a cybersecurity network engineer. He has like over like 9 years experience, and what he said, like a lot of people like uh, in this field, like that's what he noticed. Uh, they just go to do their job. So whatever is job, they just do job, and that's it. So they don't do anything besides that. So for example, like someone might go to work from 8 to 5. They the person might be responsible for like I don't know, like collecting those data like logs, like going through logs, and that's all that person does in that um, job or company, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. So, but what I'm doing, and I'm planning to do that. So I just want to extend my knowledge. Not just like if I get some job, let's say SOC analyst, and I go there and they say, hey, okay, this is your position, this is your job, this is what you're going to do, and that's it. No, I don't want to stop there. I want like extend my knowledge. I was thinking I will still run home and kind of practice in my lab and learn more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think that's the thing. I think people don't do that. And as you know already know, like I mean, IT field, cybersecurity, you learn until you die. So you will
Mm-hmm.
never like know everything. You will never be professional. You will never be specialized in this field. It's not possible because every day there is something new. That's why they say like listen to cybersecurity podcast, read news about cybersecurity. I don't know, sign up for some news, something, just to stay current, so you know what's going on. because every day there's some new malware. There's every day some ransomware with new malware,
right.
and that's how you actually learn. Like, so you hear about that, you research, and then you create tools to protect your environment, work environment, or whatever, the company data. So, and yeah, I think that's really important. Like, so we have to kind of like, I have goal. Like, so I every day I have to spend at least like 7 hours on my computer doing anything. Like, so it doesn't need to be specifically something. So even like learning command line, updating software, running something, checking, I don't know, reading about ports and applications, protocol, something, but something has to be for 5 to 7 hours regarding cybersecurity IT. And I think that's how we actually learn. So, and I mean, I can tell, like, if you do that, like, every day, like, you can learn a lot in really short period. I'm telling you seriously, I have learned a lot in those 3-4 weeks, like, since I finished my classes. Because when I was having my classes, it was so hard, like, doing many things, multiple things at the same time. But now I have more time, and I learned a lot. I mean,
very
so,
cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Chris, did you have anything you wanted to start off with? I've been taking notes, Nerman, so I've got some good stuff. But I don't want this to be the Scotty and Nerman show. Chris, do you have anything? And also, mentees, I want you to prepare some questions for another mentee. He's out on the road looking for jobs, and he can provide you some feedback. So be prepared with a question or two. Chris.
First off, Nerman, we're very proud of you. And
thank you.
I really pray and hope that the hard work pays off with the offer for wherever you decide to land. And I think the only thing I would put on, but you kind of say it already, because you said you have a bunch of friends in the cybersecurity industry, is to continue to grow that network and cultivate it and take care of it. Those resources are 10 times better than any training course, any home lab you will ever do. And I can't say anything further that's going to be even more productive besides, hey, Nerman, keep doing what you're doing, and you're going to get something. I'll call it within the year, you'll get something within the next 365 days. And if I'm wrong, I'll just continue the prayer and hope for you. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. But I'm proud of you. And Scotty, I DM'd you a couple of things. You should be a proud mentor as well, sir. That's the work we're working on. That's what we thought about with the CS-Sensei program, is to help people along in their cyber journey, and eventually the end goal would be to get a job. But you had a really good quote: "You'll learn until I die." You don't know how much that is true in this industry, because it changes. AI wasn't a thing 2 years ago, or it was, but it wasn't as blown up as it was. Your desire, your hunger to learn is probably what's going to get you places. And that's just a great inspiration for all the mentees here, is continue learning, guys. Learn what the businesses and the companies want, and write it down, and just start learning and be passionate about it. Make it what keeps you up at night. And Scotty, I'm hoping you're recording this.
Yes, we are recording. So very good. Mentees, we're going to unleash you on Nerman. Many of you may not know him, but like I said, Nerman's been with the program for what, about 2 years? Nerman?
Yeah, something
thereabouts?
like that. Yeah.
So he hasn't been on recently, but he predates most of you. Maybe Ron. Ron, you are also one of the longer term mentees. But does anybody have any questions for somebody who's, maybe a little further along in the program? Did you want to ask Nerman any questions or observations or anything? Go ahead, mentees. They're just all awestruck.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the YouTube videos for the security questions for interviews, what YouTube people are you following?
There is a guy. His name is Gerald, and I also like connected with him on LinkedIn. He has PhD. I think, if I'm not wrong, like in information technology or specifically in cybersecurity. I cannot pronounce his last name, but I can maybe share the link. So in chat, and you might check. And he has a lot of those YouTube videos. He has also webinary every morning, live webinary, and what he does, and this is really good actually. So I learned that from one of his YouTube videos about job interview. Like he said, like listen some cybersecurity podcast, 5 to 7 minutes every morning. And he suggested cybersecurity headlines, defense in depth, and it's really good. Like I'm listening those like every morning, 8 minutes, and you can even add it to your Apple. I can't remember what the app, but you can. It's really easy to access every morning, so it's basically one click. And what he does, like he go over those cybersecurity headline podcasts, like so give you more details, whatever they say there, like whatever they talk about, he kind of like give you more details and explain. And to be honest, you can learn a lot from there. Like so, I mean, I really can learn a lot. But there are like I mean, a lot of those YouTube videos. But what I found really kind of like the same, I will say the same. All of them, they're like giving you some suggestions about some common questions. Like, for example, like at the end of the interview, like, and again, they asked me this question too. They asked me like, hey, do you have any questions for us? And the guy in video suggested, he said like, always ask something. Because he also hiring people and he knows, like he said, always don't say I don't have any questions for you. At least one question. Ask about like the team, how team operates, like they're like what's the team structure like, something like. And yeah, I was actually they asked me that question at the end of the interview. Do you have any questions for us? And as I mentioned, actually that was like it was the first question when they asked me, so what do you do? How do you stay current, like in cybersecurity news? Like, so how you receive your cybersecurity news? Like, what do you do? Like, so you follow someone on Twitter, like you read some news. They asked me, and when I told them how I receive my cybersecurity news, they asked me like, so what's going on like those days in cybersecurity? Was the most like important topic nowadays? So kind of like checking, like they have a lot of so like follow-up questions, like sub questions.
Follow-on questions.
So yeah, follow-on, like whatever. Like I'm sorry, I can't. So yeah, they have a lot of those questions. So you answer something, and like they asked me about like what's the difference between TCP and UDP, and I was explaining, and then I mentioned three handshake, and they said, okay, so what is three handshake? How that works? And I said, I explained that. So, but yeah, I know that they're like really common questions, like about cybersecurity news. How do you protect your network? What do you do? Because also I learned from this video, from this guy, he said like, so nobody expecting you to come there and kind of protect their network, their information assets, and you go home and your network it's like open like to everyone, like you have like default like username and password for your Wi-Fi. It doesn't make sense, like so, and they want to know what you do, like, and you have to be ready for that. they have a lot of questions. Like I was talking about my WatchGuard firewall, and he was asking me about policies. How do you set up those policies? What kind of policies? Where do you go to set up those policies? So, I mean, they can ask you like anything, and yeah, I wasn't able to be honest, to answer all questions. I got stuck with some questions, and I was kind of like a little bit scared, like when I saw 3 people, like, and all of them, they had like between like 4 to 6 questions, maybe even more. So the interview will last for like almost over an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, if any of you guys applying for any cybersecurity position, it doesn't matter. Like, is it like government job or some other company? Make sure, like, as soon as you get interviews scheduled, start preparing, like, and go like over those common questions, and prepare some notes. I didn't do that. I was shy to do that. I was thinking like maybe they might think like, look, this guy, he's reading from somebody. But actually, all my friends, they said like, yeah, you can do that. You can prepare some notes. So don't be afraid. Like, so they will be happy to see you that you're prepared. There's also one good thing to mention. Like you mentioned them that even if you don't know something, you cannot answer the question. You might tell them, okay, I'm not sure. I don't know this, but I can tell you what I know about this. So tell something, at least something, whatever you know. Like if you cannot answer the questions, say at least something. And also tell them, hey, I know how to do research. I know how to Google. I mean, I can easily find the like solution or find the answer, and they like that. So at least a lot of my friends, they said that. So they like when they like, because again, you cannot know everything, and once you start working, you probably, like everyone, will kind of run in a lot of those issues, and that you cannot even explain or so. Like, so you have to kind of Google, research, ask someone. I don't know. So that's also good to mention. Like, so I don't know. Like, so I mean, I learned a lot from this interview, and actually, and this is one more thing. I'm sorry. I know I'm taking a lot of time. If you have some interview, write down those questions. And what I did, I wrote all questions, and I was actually kind of angry on myself because I couldn't answer some questions that I know, but I got stuck. I was scared. I don't know. And I was actually even really overtired. Like, so I made a mistake. I should get some sleep. But write down all questions. What I did, I wrote all questions, and after an interview, I started going over those questions. And still I'm going over those questions, repeating them. Like, so I was so angry on myself that I couldn't answer those questions. And now when I'm driving, I'm listening to YouTube videos. Like, I just Google the question, find on YouTube, and just listen and go over and over. And you make sure to do that, so because that's how you learn, and next time someone might ask you the same question, so you will be ready.
Oh, good. Thank you.
One thing that I heard, and I want to make sure everybody understands this. I heard it because I have been a hiring manager for, well, a long time. But Nerman, you may not have even caught this, but when you are in your interview and they ask you questions like, what are your resources? In other words, how do you learn about these things? How do you stay current? Many times, they are also out fishing for good ideas for themselves. When you go into an interview, it's a two-way process. And you may think it's all somebody saying, well, I got to check list, and if you check this all off, then you're going to get hired. If you don't check it off, you're not. That is not the case. You bring perspective into that interview that they may not have. So don't devalue yourself when you're in an interview. That may have been some of the reasons why they asked you things like, what podcasts do you listen to? Because then they go, oh, I need to listen to that podcast. We are all constantly learning. Even those people that, look all stern when they're interviewing you, they could be asking you questions and you could be providing them value immediately. I don't know if you thought about that, Nerman, but it is a I've been in interviews and somebody has surprised me. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that, and I write it down, and it becomes something that I start doing or I start looking for. So it is not a one-way street when you're in an interview. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to put down some things. Oh, did it? No, anyone else? Okay, I'm going to put down some things in the chat that I wanted to point out that are all really, really good. Here's some of the things that Nerman did or does. First of all, I heard him say this out loud. You don't need to know everything to get started. Don't sell yourself short. Get started. Work on those resumes. By the way, you keep tweaking your resume, you said. Do you only have one resume?
No, I have actually I have a lot of them now. Like I think over like 10. And what I'm doing, and also I learned that from you. I clearly remember when you said like when you read your job description, create resume based on that job, and it makes sense. Like don't talk about something that it's not related to that company or that job. And I do that, but here is one thing that I also do. Like, so, I mean, I had 2 interviews, but I'm doing now for this next interview. I went back and I read again job descriptions, and I was looking what kind of like requirements they're asking for, and what kind of tools they're using, what kind of certification they're looking for. And I just went back and I Googled. And this is also a good strategy. Like if they say, hey, it will be good, like if you have some experience in, I don't know, like SIEM, system information and event management, you just go there and Google, what is that? What kind of tools they use? Like, so, and you can tell them. And I also learned this from my friend. He said, like, it makes a huge difference if you tell them that you know something about that.
Right.
So, like, even he said, like, even you can get more money. Like, if you tell them, that's why I started learning all those applications. He said, like, if you go somewhere and you say, hey, I know a little bit about Splunk. What do you know? I know this, I know that, I know how to set up Splunk attack range. I know how to simulate those attacks, and I know how to go back and find those attacks, like read the data, see those logs, and so it's a huge difference. Like, I mean, compared like saying like I never heard about Splunk, I don't know, or so that's good strategy. So as soon as you get interview, I mean, I'm sending a lot of applications. I cannot do that for every job description, but for those ones that you already get interviewed, like you have scheduled interview, go back, read again, see what they're talking about, do a little bit research, Google, at least know what's going on about that, like know, at least learn description, like the purpose of that tool or application, software, or even certificate, even though you don't have that kind of certificate, at least based on certificate, you can figure out what they're looking for. And you don't need to have a certificate. They're looking Network Plus or something. you know what that certificate is about. Like you just go Google like, and learn about a little bit about like ports, not fun things.
That is that's an excellent tactic for everybody to learn, where they say, can you do X, Y, Z? The response is probably not helpful if you answer yes or no. It may sound like a yes or no question, but if the answer is no, you can say, well, not exactly, but here's what I do know. In other words, you can take the concept and say, yeah, I know what you're looking for, and I know, basically you're looking for somebody who knows everything, but here's what I do know that gets me toward that goal you're looking for. In other words, do you know how to count to 10? But I can count to 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's what I do already. Here's what I am learning. Here's what I am working on. You may not hit that 10, but they already know you are learning how to count, and I'm using that as an extremely simple example. But if they're asking, like, you mentioned Splunk. What have you done in Splunk? If they say, do you know how to do this in Splunk? You could say, I haven't learned all of that, but I've learned how to do this and this and this. And that is a wonderful technique, because by doing that, you could even uncover things that they didn't intend to, or they didn't even think to ask, but is valuable to them. Additionally, by showing what you know to, in reference to what they're asking, if they say, do you know about Splunk? And you say, no, but I know about AWS, well, that may not be as helpful. But always remember that, because I've been in these interviews with interviewees, and I'll be asking questions, and because the interviewee shares their level of knowledge and their expertise and their interests, where they're going with this already, I could very well have a job sitting that I'm getting ready to announce that it has nothing to do with this interview, but I'm listening to this and saying, wow, this person might be a great fit for this job that I haven't yet announced. But if you don't share, I will never know that. So I love the approach, Nerman, and I think that is extremely healthy. It's not just how close do you hit the target in this interview. You are acquainting yourself with these people. What if they have another vacancy and you show up back on their list? You apply for that vacancy, and it's one of the same hiring managers. They'll be like, hey, Nerman, how has it been? Instead of, good morning. When you go into your interview, you are developing that cred. You're actually learning how to respond, and that's what makes you strong. So I think that's great. So anyway, you don't need to know everything to apply. Build and exercise your network. Use those LinkedIn contacts. Use me. Use Chris. Say, here's my contact. Here's my mentor. Here's what my mentor says. And you can apply that to any one of us. Chris, me, Dolly, Christopher, Tobias, any one of us that says things, you could say, well, my mentor says, and they'll be like, you have a mentor? Oh, yeah. Look, in my experience on the resume, I'm a cybersecurity mentee. And I've been one since, how long have you been a mentee, Nerman? 2021, right?
Almost 2 years. Yeah, actually, when they asked me that question about cybersecurity, I mentioned you guys, because I was telling, like, we have like webinar every Saturday morning, and I was telling, I was explaining them how you guys always prepare a PowerPoint presentation for every Saturday with like really recent cybersecurity news, and we talk about that. And I was telling like my mentors, they do a lot of research before webinar. They prepare everything, and like as I said, PowerPoint, and they kind of get a lot of those information before like a webinar, and then I really learn a lot. So I was telling them too, like, so I was talking about Sensei, about you guys, I mean, and I was telling them about CISA and some, I signed up for some, I think it's called cyber law news, something like that. So I was talking about that.
Very good. Thank you. Great stuff. I'm moving on so I don't, steal everything. Experience, you mentioned this, it's not black and white. It's not, did you do it? Yes or no. Did you do it? Yes or no. You can always, even in the interview, show how close you are matching the target. So when they ask a question, do you know about this? It's probably healthier to respond with what you do know than no. That doesn't tell them anything. Okay, so yeah. Or they are interviewing you, not always the skills you possess, but also what drives you. So when they ask about, what do you know about AWS? You could say, well, I've been working on that. I got myself an AWS account. I'm, doing these particular things. I'm following this curriculum to use with AWS. They'll be like, wow, he didn't answer yes or no. He's already on the track that we want him to be on anyway, and he's getting close. Instead of answering yes or no, they're like, they know your ambition, they know your interests, they know your resources, they know your trajectory, where you're headed with this. That's all extremely valuable, and they also know you planned it out. It may be a no, but they already can see that you've got it going on up here. So that's great. Yeah, experience is not black and white. It's not a yes-no. It's not a light switch. What you know has value. Even if it's less than what they want, it also allows you to share about yourself. And like you mentioned, after the interview, sit down and say, they asked me this. How do I answer this better next time? That is excellent. And you won't get that unless you go in the interviews. So that's great. Number 4, I put stay hungry and eager to learn. And I'm sharing with you that they're hungry as well. When they ask you questions like, what resources do you use? You may give them information they didn't know. So that's like, oh, value. Nerman just transmitted value to this team of interviewers. Wow. And it's quite possible. Again, nobody knows everything. If anybody thinks they know everything, they're wrong, but they're also way too vain to be acceptable within the team. So be careful. You never know everything. They never know everything. We're all working toward the same goal, and that's a safer whatever, infrastructure, safer banking system, safer whatever, And then you mentioned this, Nerman, you set yourself a daily schedule. Little goals, they're going to help you achieve your large strategies. Those are all excellent. And then, number 6, I said, write down and study the questions you missed. Don't miss them next time. Very good. Any other questions? Any other questions? This is great stuff. Twyla Marcus.
Hello. Just a quick question. So how did you go about learning Splunk? What resources did you use?
Oh yeah, my friend, as I already mentioned, he is a senior cybersecurity network engineer, and actually he told me before I had the interview with Discover, he told me that they use that, and he said like it was really close to interview, but he said like at least go there and set up. He was showing me how to set up, how to install that on my Linux operating system, and just he said like go do a little bit something about this and read, and you can mention that during the interview. And yeah, they asked me about that. They said like, so what did you do? Again, I was just like, I was just set up. It took me like three or 4 days to set up because I was running in a lot of those errors like during installation, and for some reason everyone like has the same issue, and then you have to research Google and solve those errors like, and it took me a lot of time. But yeah, I just set up, so I wasn't able to use anything before interview. But yeah, I told them what I did. That's how I heard. Like, so my friend he gave me suggestion. But you can also Google like just that's what I do now. Like I Google like, so for SOC analyst, and that's how I got the idea to actually take that course like for SOC analyst. So you can find a lot of those information like, so what's like really like used nowadays in cybersecurity, what kind of like depends on the position, like it's like SOC analyst or something like network engineer, but you can always Google and find a lot of those information and then start learning like, but if you listen some cybersecurity podcast and watch those YouTube videos like made by those professionals in cybersecurity, people who do really serious things, like you can learn a lot from them too. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Next.
Which one of the cybersecurity videos that you use help you the most?
So let me see, I'll tell you now. Give me just 1 second, and those are really good.
Okay.
I'll open my history, and actually I already subscribed for those some of those. Sorry. Give me just 1 second. Sorry, have to.
It's okay. Take your time from there.
Yeah, that's fine. While he's developing that, let me, fill in the airspace here. I think it's important for you to realize that any learning is learning. There are better resources and not so valuable resources, but they all add up. Here's me. I've been doing this for 33 years, and yet I still listen to some basic podcasts. And, my wife's like, oh, are we listening to this again? Why can't we put gospel music on or whatever? I'm like, sorry, babe, this is important because we need to know what's going on in the industry. What was the, oh, man. Oh, yeah. The big issue in the industry right now where so many organizations and companies are announcing that their client data has been divulged. What's the big vulnerability everybody's been talking about? 5,000 companies and organizations have had their data compromised. You remember what it is? MOVEit servers.
Yeah. So that was yesterday in cybersecurity headlines. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And MOVEit it's been around for many years. A lot of people got it. They developed vulnerabilities. They announced the vulnerabilities. A lot of people went and patched, but a lot of people didn't. And now, this bank announces this, and this retirement company announces this, and this hospital announces, all of our client data got exfiltrated because of a known vulnerability. If you go into an interview and you've been listening to this podcast, they can say, what's going on? Well, you say, move it. And they already know that you're following current stuff. You may not know all the stuff about it, but you're like, move it makes CEOs cringe these days. Did we fix our Move It server? Did our provider fix and patch their Move It server? If not, is our information able to be exfiltrated? So if they ask, what are you following? Well, I'm following this. And well, what did you learn? Move it. It's a big deal because thousands of companies have had their client data stolen. Thousands. So yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nerman. Do you have it?
Yeah, just quickly answer the question. Yeah, so I'm following this guy, Network Chuck. You can find him on YouTube. He has a lot of those YouTube videos about everything. I will say everything. And he really gives you a lot of those details, how to use Linux, how to install VirtualBox, for example. So you can really learn from him a lot. And you can even perform some attacks, using Kali Linux tools, watching those YouTube videos. So Network Check, and the other guy is Loy Young. Loy Young, yes, Loi, and last name, I guess it's last name Yang, Young, and yeah, you can really so. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm watching him how he performing some attacks. Recently, I was learning how to create a shortcut file with the written script inside. So in order to get remote access to someone's operating system, and it works. I did that, so it's really cool. Yeah, it's really you can really, if you set up your virtual lab and you have all those virtual machines, so you make sure that you do that in safe environment, so you don't attack someone's network or do something illegal. But if you're doing in offline environment in your lab, on your network, using your virtual machines, your IP addresses, you will be fine, and you can do those attacks, perform whatever they do. There are a lot of those vulnerable machines Metasploitable, DC1. You can download a lot of those vulnerable machines and then attack them. So they have a lot of those vulnerabilities. So yeah, maybe one day I can prepare some presentation and share the screen and show you guys. It might be much nice. Easily. So instead of just talking.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
Yeah, and the third guy is Gerald. The last name, I don't know, I cannot pronounce it. Auger. Auger. I'm not sure. I don't want to say something stupid, but Gerald, I know for sure it's first name. I'm following him on LinkedIn, and again, he has also every morning lives, webinar every morning from Monday to Friday, and again, you can really learn a lot of those things and get good advices regarding finding job or getting some experience. And, yeah.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Nerman. That was amazing.
You're welcome.
Has there been a particular bit of information or field that has not been that valuable? In other words, you sort of look at it and say, that's not what they're looking for at the moment?
No, I think so whatever you learn regarding information security, information technology, and cybersecurity is broad field, but I mean whatever it's really useful. Everything is useful. Everything, and I troubleshooting like those simple things like so everything. I know nowadays it's like the big topic. It's artificial intelligence. I recently heard like how people like put like sensitive data in chat GPT. So, like, and now companies like they're having a lot of those issues because employees like trying like to find the easy way to complete the work, like in using artificial intelligence and putting their like sensitive data, corporate data. So now companies kind of developing security policies, like probably kind of like you can do that. You cannot use AI.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And I'm just going to share one story about AI and ChatGPT that I heard that should give you some perspective. Remember that everything you see on the internet is not always true. But ChatGPT, when they originated it, they went out and did what's called scraping of the internet. In order to fill ChatGPT, they went out to, millions of websites and pulled down as much information as they could. One example was there is what's called a peer review process for papers that you submit. If you want to be published, you submit a paper, it gets reviewed by a peer, and then if the peer agrees with you, then your paper gets published. If your peer does not agree with you, then maybe you need to, change it a little bit. One of the things that people have noticed is these non-peer reviewed papers are out there on the internet as if they were peer reviewed. So you got one that is valuable and one that may not be so valuable because it did not go through the peer review process. ChatGPT is showing them both as being authoritative. Well, that's not true. One made it through validation, the other didn't. And ChatGPT doesn't know. It's sort of like ABC. ChatGPT goes, ABC. No idea where he got it from. So absolutely, ChatGPT is both a tremendous tool and a tremendous headache for management. Oh, well, the internet says this, big deal. ChatGPT says this, big deal. Is it real? Is it valid? Is it, whatever? So be very, very careful with AI. And I will tell you, if you're a SOC analyst, how many of the people that interview you do you think are out there putting stuff out in ChatGPT? Not me. Not me. I'm not going to do that. I may be looking for stuff to bring in, but I'm not out there adding data. Nah. That's what you learn as a SOC analyst. Our information has to go through controls. What? Controls? But I could just upload it. Yeah, but you're not allowed to because we have controls. So yeah, very good. Anybody else? Any other questions? Thanks again, Nerman. This is wonderful.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for letting me share my story. I really appreciate you, all of you. Thank you.
Yes, please come back again.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. And we will definitely talk when we're zipping around on the web. Nerman, thank you for coming back and sharing. When you have more interviews or a success or even a failure, everybody wants to know about it. That's what we do here. We show you the value in, everything that you do has value. Everything that you do will get you there. You just got to keep working at it. So wonderful stuff. Thanks, everybody. Again, thanks, Nerman. Have a wonderful Saturday.
Y'all
you.
too. Thank
guys
you.
later.
See you next
Thanks.
week,
Have a good
everyone.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I got